Are you ready?
Good news, everyone! I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right, you're always blaming me. So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What's up, you ducks? It is All in Football on FTN Network. Chris Meaney, Stepmom, Lauren. Make sure you are following them and getting the great advice that they have to give out. Code All In, get you 20% off. And The Athletic has some promotion going on right now, or whatever, but going to continue.
Always a promotion going on at The Athletic.
Yeah. Wide receiver ADPs. And then there's also, wow, I'm really I might as well just not say it because I was about to say the F-bomb. HOA people and the people who are enforcing those people, they can all go up a tree and get struck by lightning and get set on fire and die in a fiery pit of hell. They can all go to hell. Anybody who calls because you want somebody to get their car towed, you can go to hell and burn there, please, forever in a fiery pit. But I still want you to go to heaven. I just until
okay.
Not for all eternity, just for like a few weeks maybe.
This is a few weeks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hang out with the robot devil.
That's kind. I wouldn't be that kind. I would not.
Oh.
Hell hath no fury. Sorry.
How about not hell, because I don't want to really go to hell. Maybe I take like the little pins and put them under every single one of their fingernails.
Ow.
And then, and then once that pain wears off, rip out every single one of their fingernails. How about that?
Oh my goodness, Jake is on one this morning. Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm digging it. I mean, this is very creative.
Good segue.
I'm trying to write a book right
to the
now.
show. This might get edited out of
great.
Canada. I don't know. I can handle this.
Toenails are next.
Oh yeah.
Stacey,
hashtag
Goon Squad.
We do. Yeah. Anyway, yes. So HOA people go to hell. Anyway, so ADP is what we're considering wide receiver wise. I have no idea where I'm going right now because do we have any news? Because there hasn't been any news in the past week. Did I miss anything? I'm like,
I did see something last night that wasn't.
I know who it was too. That's the worst part. Should I go slash 3 of their tires? Because apparently, if you slash 3 and not 4, they can't claim it on their insurance. I just found this out.
Ooh.
So
That's true.
Yeah.
Why? What's that all about?
Give me a minute. I'll fly to where you
tires.
are. No one will ever know.
We got you, Jake. Whatever you need, we got you.
Whatever you need, man.
Oh, I can't do it now because I said it on the show. So
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
I was gonna say, what is?
I have no idea. My phone
thought
literally just started blaring music, and I didn't touch anything. That was really weird.
I thought it was kind of some music that had to go with my complaint.
I guess so.
Anyway.
My phone was really upset for you, and it just started to play some weird.
I don't even know what that was.
song.
I thought like
It was like
maybe
some pump up music.
what's the? Yeah,
That was good,
I was
yeah.
thinking of what's the one from
it's
the
Moana.
or NCIS or something like that.
It's
Nathan says he's been slashing tires wrong the whole time.
It was playing "Where You Are" from Moana.
Actually, okay, sure, whatever. There is actually one piece of news. I forgot. I found it. I'm sorry. Like my brain's still in full on rage. Like that like fire guy from.
I don't think I've ever seen you
movie.
as mad. I've never actually seen you as mad as what you were before you hopped on the show. Before we went
Agreed.
officially live. Never in my life.
He's keeping it together
still-
well, folks.
I'm kind of scared, and I
What was
hope
the
that
one
we
with
make
the
you happy in the next 45 minutes.
What was the five emotions with the and then there's the red dude that always set himself on fire.
There was
I was
joy,
like-
hope.
Yeah, but what was the name of the movie? Fox has got us.
Uh,
Inside Out.
Inside
Thank you,
Out.
Fox. Yeah, I'm that guy, but like 50 of them and no other emotions inside my head. Like the other 4. But yeah, he killed the other 4. He set them on fire and sent them to a burrito pit in hell.
Or like little
He did
Jack
that.
from The Incredibles.
Oh no, that's at least funny. Anyway, Jaylen Warren was the news I was trying to find because there's been a lot of see, the Mark Caboli for the Athletic. There's been some talk about how do they keep him off the field and how does he not get involved more in this season. However, we've talked Najee Harris because we went through the ADP rankings and we talked Najee Harris and his workload last year and his workload being consistent, but also he looked much better in the second half of the season. The List Frank injury was an issue. Seemed like it got better towards the end of the year. And we know who Mike Tomlin is. We know Mike Tomlin is truly like, I want my bell cow guy, and he still calls the shots here, but he's not the offensive coordinator. And this is what people are throwing out there. Do you believe it? Meaning, do you believe Jaylen Warren is going to be more involved and Najee Harris is not going to be the top 3 of like the 80% that there's about 2 or 3 guys in the NFL right now? He's not going to be that guy anymore. And there's going to be more of a split. And maybe we should cool off our show takes from like 2 weeks ago on Najee Harris.
I'll jump in. I believe some of the reports. Okay.
Don't get me started.
I mean, but I wasn't sure. So I'll just jump in. I believe the reports that he's good, that he's a good back and he's having a really good camp and he's showing up and he probably deserves more touches, but I don't think he's really going to cut in significantly. I can't see a scenario where he's getting more than 5 carries a game. Like maybe he cuts in a third down role. But yeah, I mean, we've been pro Najee here for a couple weeks, as you said, Jake. I mean, I view him as a borderline bell cow back. I still think he's a guy that's going to catch 50 balls. I still think he's going to be the guy inside the red zone. I still think he's going to be the lead. He's a really good running back. And he battled through those injuries to start the season and still finished with 1,000 yards on a really bad football team. So I'm going to kind of pump the brakes on Warren. But I think it's a good situation the Steelers have right now in those 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up perfectly, Jake, when you said we know Mike Tomlin and how he runs this offense. And this is, Najee Harris is going to need a water break every once in a while, right? So enter Jaylen Warren. So that's kind of where I'm seeing this. This is also the offseason. It is the epitome of the hype trains that just go, and then they build up steam, and then it's choo-choo. I really don't see this as anything other than just off-season hype, and there's nothing else really to talk about. So let's just grasp at anything that we can and make it into a thing. But history is likely going to repeat itself here. We know Mike Tomlin, how he likes to run his running backs. We know what Najee Harris is able to do, especially if he is fully healthy. Also with Kenny Pickett here, we're not talking about super long bombs down the field. He's going to have to be involved as a pass catching back. That just means more touches for Najee Harris. And he's going to, like I said before, need a water break at some point. Enter Jaylen Warren.
Enter Jaylen Warren. Yeah, best shape of his life. It's BSOL. And then, so as of today, straight up, Najee Harris or Derrick Henry if you're drafting. What do you believe?
Oh, my goodness. According to my rankings, I mean, it's Henry for me. But I'll still go Henry.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my gun.
Rankings?
Yeah.
I'm going to... I'm sticking with my earlier guns here. I'm getting one last year out of Derrick Henry. I'm doing it. Getting one last year out of that man. I'm going to go Henry.
I actually had Najee Harris ahead of him, and I'm not going to move him off that spot for right now. I think that, it's just the Derrick Henry at this point, the volume's getting to him finally. Also,
is it Spears too? Do you think he cuts into a little bit more? Maybe
we've been playing that game for years, and like it's always going to be a pass catcher. Find the pass catcher.
I know.
All the way back to Deion Lewis. Find the pass catcher.
Oh man.
But really comes down to is I don't believe that's a significant role for fantasy purposes. Not that it can't affect Derrick Henry, but also I have concerns of, is it Ryan Tannehill the entire year, and do we turn to Will Levis, which I think Will Levis will hurt the offense, although it might not hurt the offense that much more than what Tannehill was doing. So that's where either way. I do want to at least have some fun on the show. I now legitimately get the saying of seeing red. Like I like kind of like getting half of what you guys are saying, and like it's kind of like half a blur. Like I don't actually see the color red, but like I can't, like I'm getting half of what you guys are saying. But I did see you asked about energy drinks. My go-to is Amino Energy strawberry. I love it. It tastes like strawberry Starburst. But speaking of strawberry, I'm not a huge Monster person, but Monster just came out with a new strawberry. I think that's delicious. Do not try. Heads up. I'm sorry. We're never going to get sponsored by these people, but do not try the Dragon Ball Z and the Naruto branded. I forget what brand it even is. I'd have to go look at the refrigerator. But first of all, Naruto, it's like soda sugar soda. Like it tastes like somebody took a Coke float and tried to put an energy drink. Miserable.
Ooh,
and then I don't know what the Dragon Ball strawberry lychee is or something. I think that's when they try to mix it with lime or something. Also terrible. Don't drink those. I don't know. G Fuel. I think they are G Fuel, Nathan. Anyway, yes, they are the G Fuel because they're supposed to be like gamer fuel. I can talk now. But anyway, all right, let's talk.
He's getting more into Jake Ciely as longer we go here into the show.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
I feel like the throbbing in the side of my head.
And then the vein, it's just like,
no, because I know who had to have called because this lady says she can't back out of her driveway when people park on the street, even though you're allowed to park on the street. It's just they tell you after midnight, which is my problem. I forgot to move the car because we moved out of the driveway to get the other car out. But anyway, sidebar. She called I was playing poker one night at my house. She came over and knocked on my door and was like, "Hey, is that your guy's car?" I'm like, yeah, you're allowed to park on the street. She's like, I can't back out of my driveway. It's a freaking 2-lane street. If you can't back out of the driveway, it sounds like your problem. She got the HOA to put a sign that says, do not park on this part of the street. I'll go take a picture of it.
Wow.
So it's specifically right behind her driveway because she can't back out of the driveway. So I know she's the one that called.
I think you got to give her like driving lessons for Christmas.
No.
I could think of way other things besides driving lessons. You're being real nice, Meaney.
Very nice.
When do I need to come visit, Jake? Because I'm ready.
Oh,
let's go.
I'm fine. Wide receivers. So we're going to continue. We talked Mike Evans and Chris Godwin last week, and we kind of didn't get to a lot more because there's a lot of the Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley news, but kind of looking at ADP right now. I want to attack this ADP specifically because there's another pair of teammates. We have Calvin Ridley. I don't know what's going on with my throat, by the way. We have Calvin. It's all the fired upness is coming through. Calvin Ridley right now, ADP wide receiver 20. Christian Kirk, for comparison, is wide receiver 25. I have those reversed. I take Kirk in front of Ridley, and I feel like maybe I'm drinking the loopy juice, or maybe just I can't see anything correctly because I'm so pissed off. But Lauren, is it Kirk? Like, forget the guys that are around right now, and if that's too high, Kirk versus Ridley alone. Like, we just had Kirk do what we wanted him to do since he was a rookie, and Ridley's coming back of 2 years of no football. But we know Ridley's talent. If we could say like 1 versus 1, like we knew he was who he was, I think everybody agreed the talent's better. But are you taking Ridley or are you taking Kirk? Just one of those two.
You know, I'm going to take my shot on Ridley. I really do like him this year. I consider him one of my sleepers, mostly because he hasn't played football in 2 years. And there's a big risk there. There's a big risk in taking Ridley over Christian Kirk. I just like the upside of what Ridley is able to do in that offense with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. So I'm excited to see what his potential can be if he can, come back true to form. So I am going to take that's usually not like me, but I am going to take the risk and I'm going to take the shot on Calvin Ridley. Now, would I, make fun of somebody for taking Christian Kirk? Absolutely not. I think that's a little bit more of the safer, more consistent pieces that also has high upside. But I think that Calvin Ridley fits this offense incredibly well. So I'm going to go Ridley here.
I like both guys quite a bit.
I know.
I love this offense. I think if there's no cost, I want Ridley. But the fact that these guys should be side by side in rankings. Like Calvin Ridley shouldn't be going as wide receiver 17, 16, in my opinion. And I mean, if he is, then Kirk should be going just right after. And I'm seeing Kirk, fall into the 30s at the wide receiver position. And he's certainly got a rapport already with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I like Calvin Ridley. You said it, Jake. He hasn't played in 2 years. Played five games 2 years ago, caught 31, 32 passes. He does have, a 1,400-yard season on his resume. Like, he's a really good wide receiver, but this is a new situation for him. It's a new quarterback. It's a new offense. There's also Evan Ingram, who had a, nice campaign. Zay Jones. So I think if we're talking about cost, I think I'd rather maybe just wait until, 5th, 6th, 7th round if I can to get Kirk, but I won't fully ignore Calvin Ridley. It seems like such a cop-out answer. I play a lot of fantasy. That's it. Straight up. I'm going to have Calvin Ridley on one of my squads because I know what his ceiling and his upside is. But I see the question there, Ridley or Christian Watson? It's Watson for me. Like, that's a guy that's a clear-cut number one target on a team with rookies and sophomores that he's going to have to deal with, where Calvin Ridley, again, is dealing with at least – I'd expect him to be 1A or 1B, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's a bit of a kind of a quote-unquote learning curve for him on a new team.
Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, the backfield. It's not like they don't have options. It's not like they need
Ton.
him to be like Christian Watson needs to be Christian Watson if the Packers have any hope of being competitive. Calvin Ridley could just be a piece. Like, I'm not saying like that. I'm not talking down. I'm just playing kind of devil's advocate for the Calvin Ridley supporters. I mean, you brought up those games. Yeah, the volume was there, Meaney. I know part of it was Matt Ryan at the time, but never hit 100 yards in those games. Oh, like, so if you look at it, and actually, if you look at his 3 and a third of a season, whatever it is, like the outlier is the 15-point season per game. Like he was 11-12 the other 3 years. And like, that's, so I'm with that. I think what Lauren said, I could see going Ridley like, hey, like I want the higher ceiling. I'll never disagree that Calvin Ridley has the higher ceiling. But in this conversation, let's stick with you real quick here, Meaney. If you had to go all like this, put them all together. Now we're going to rank them a mini rank because this isn't everybody, but the Bucks wide receivers and the Jags wide receivers, the top twos at each: Evans, Godwin, Kirk, Ridley. How do you rank those four? Like, how would you draft those four? That's why I'm doing this.
I'll go back to my rankings. Like I have Godwin. I got Godwin, Ridley, Kirk, Evans. I'm kind of that way. I really do believe in this Jacksonville offense.
Same way.
I think, out of the four, I believe actually the fact that he hasn't played football in 2 years, I do believe that Ridley does have the highest ceiling of the four because the quarterback play in Tampa Bay limits Mike Evans, as we talked about. I think the safest player is Chris Godwin of the four guys in the slot, like we talked on the last episode. And Christian Kirk is just kind of that undervalued. I'm looking right now. I know, best ball. I bring it up because these drafts are happening. It gives us a little bit of a feel. But Christian Kirk here going as wide receiver 29, like that's pretty decent value, for a guy that just had a really good season on a new team. But that's how I rank him. I'd go Godwin is the safest, Ridley is the highest floor, but Godwin, Ridley, Kirk, Evans.
I'm the same way. 100% agree with you, Meaney. Can't argue. I'd love to, but I can't.
That's no fun.
I know. I'm boring.
Yeah, how close do you have Ridley and Jake? How close do you have Ridley and Kirk? You have Kirk ahead, but is it close? Are these guys
two spots?
Yeah. And I think that's fair, right?
I agree.
Yeah,
Ridley's one spot in front of Mike Evans.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, like that huge gap that just didn't feel right. And this one isn't as big of a gap, but it seems like they should be closer. Yeah, I mean, flip them.
Like, Garrett Wilson. Oh, you mean like, okay, yeah.
Like there's just a big gap between the guys. I'm just like, why is Elijah Moore? Like, why did the fantasy community have Elijah Moore like as a wide receiver 2 and Garrett Wilson is like a 5 or 6? Like, why was there that big of a gap when it should be closer? And that's what I'm seeing so far. Like Ridley is just, this is 2020 Ridley, where he had 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he's a for sure wide receiver 2 with upside to be a top 10, but Christian Kirk just had this great season, and we don't care. He's maybe a wide receiver 3, probably 4. Like that's how the fantasy community has labeled these guys, and I think it's a mistake.
I know the shiny and new thing. Maybe it's just because there is that shadow of best ball over it. Because when I think of best ball, I think of Calvin Ridley. I don't think of Christian Kirk. So maybe things will kind of sort themselves out as the offseason progresses. But don't get me wrong. If I miss out on Ridley, I will gladly take Christian Kirk. I'll gladly take Evan Ingram if he's available. Hopefully not at the same time on the same team. But yeah, I love this offense. I'm all about it. But for the sake of this show at this moment, going Ridley.
T-Law's in for a big season.
Meaney, if you want to draft these guys on your team and maybe you're ticked off and peed off at your neighbors and you want to just go be able to relax and by the pool and have some fun, you want to tell everybody how they can do that? Because I might need that trip right now.
I think we need to bring Jake to Vegas, Lauren.
We do.
You think? Yeah.
I agree.
We can have a good time by the pool. We'll put on, I don't know, he likes golf. We'll put on some golf. I'm sure there'll be some preseason football action we can watch as well. But if you guys are looking for the ultimate place to draft your fantasy football team, and who wouldn't be, the ultimate fantasy football draft can only take place in Las Vegas in Circa Resort and Casino. They want to bring you and your entire team, your whole league, to Vegas to have the best fantasy football experience giveaway. So all 12 of your league mates, 2-night stay at Circa Resort, and you can have your draft from a cabana, which Lauren absolutely loves, at the Stadium Swim. Huge screen, pools set up. I've never been there. I've just seen pictures. I've been so jealous, but this package here is a $12,000 prize package. And there is no better place to hang out and draft with your buddies at Circa. So check out circalasvegas.com for more information. You can sign up by the end of June. And there's a ton of giveaways. Like I said, they're going to take care of you. Hotels, flight, accommodation, and all kinds of food and prizes. Check it out. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Like I said, you had me at Cabana.
I did.
I would be good to go right now because it'd be like tilt and poker. I'd just be like, throwing my...
I was going to ask you if you
Your
went
roulette
all
wheel
in there.
didn't hit.
Oh, man. No, it's a great looking
little metal
sports book,
balls
though.
at people.
Oh no. Flinging the ice cubes around.
I'd be there'd be like giant sized BB gun, like shoot them, like go around. Like
I
BB
think
gun,
Jake's getting
mind you.
more violent as the show goes.
He is. I like it.
Now I'm
here
crying.
for it.
Those
I'm
are still
laughing so
BB
hard.
size. Are those too big? Are they too big? Would they do too much damage? Like I just want to like give
I mean,
you
if it
the red
takes out
light.
an eye or a tooth, it probably isn't a good idea.
Well, I've seen people do it with the airsoft guns because they get all aggressive. They
Yeah,
get
my
the
stepson
aggro
lost his
going on
front
with, like-
tooth from an airsoft gun.
See?
From his sister.
Those things are
It was great.
ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah, those are.
We didn't get it for him, so. See.
I like everybody joking about what's going on with Calvin Ridley and Jameson Williams, by the way. We've like talked about drafts. It's a gamble. I appreciate that.
Oh, didn't.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take dad jokes all day long. Let's talk Atlanta, though, and Drake London. Second year, we kind of touched on him. We touched on him briefly at the end of the episode. I said we were going to come back to him. Drake London versus these two. I want to talk about versus these two versus the Tampa Bay draft. Everybody in this tier, really, because we're talking about Watson. You brought him up, Meaney. Watson, Lockett, Godwin, the Bucks guys. We're going to get to some more, but the San Francisco guys we talked about earlier because we talked specifically Debo, all of them in that group. Is Drake London at the Christian Watson side of things, Lauren, where he's got the ceiling where I could see top 15? Or do you think the offense, run heavy, Arthur Smith, Desmond Ridder, second year, do you think he deserves to be more at the lower end of this tier of the group and kind of down by the Godwin, Mike Evans group because the offense is going to stilt his production?
I'm going with the latter part of your statement or your question. I do worry about the offense. And this is not about Drake London. This is about the offense. It's about Desmond Ridder. It's about what's going to happen this season.
What if Heineke played half the season? What if I told you right now, half games Heineke, half games Desmond Ridder?
I'm in love with Heineke, so I might actually agree with the first half.
Jake is too.
I love Heineke. But no, I just think we need to temper expectations. I think he can have good games, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to string those together because of the nature of the offense. So I'm hesitant on him. I'm pumping the brakes, tempering my expectations when it comes to Drake London. Just this season, though, because once they start putting things together, I think it could be dangerous.
Next season. What, when they get back in the quarterback market? I don't know.
Yep.
I think Ritter's okay.
I
think Ritter's okay. Well, I think we'll get a really good feel of how they feel about him this season as like the full-time starter there, and what is an underrated offensive line, a bell cow running back to lean on, Pitts and Drake London. I like London. I think he's in for, I don't know, quote unquote breakout season. I hate when people say that these guys are breakout as a rookie. I think, his sophomore season will probably be a lot better than his rookie campaign. And his game did change in the second half when Ridder was under center, but also Pitts wasn't there. So I just have a hard time taking him over a guy like Amari Cooper, Christian Watson, even Jerry Jeudy. DJ Moore is going a few spots after him. I don't think I'll have a lot of shares of Drake London. I love the talent, love the player, but Jake, you said it. This is a run-first offense. And Bijan Robinson is going as like pick 11 on average, as a guy that's never had a snap in the NFL. And Algier had 1,000 yards with 200 carries. So if you're going to give Bijan Robinson 300 plus touches, this offense is going to look a lot like it did in Tennessee a couple of years ago with Arthur Smith. And maybe this is going to be some inconsistent games from Drake London. There's going to be no consistency there.
And that's like the comparison you just made, the Titans, Derrick Henry with the Titans from a few years ago, is you might have one wide receiver. You might have somebody that finishes a wide receiver too. He has the ceiling that like the touchdowns are going to be the difference of whether or not he can get top 15. And, I have Drake London in the mid-low 20s, and I love some Drake London talent-wise, but he's also dealing with an extremely talented tight end that just came up, 1,000 yards that everybody thought was crap because he's Kyle Pitts, and expectations for it as the rookie season, obviously last year was kind of blown up completely. But you're looking at that for Pitts, and it's like a clear number two. Like if you gave me the Titans back then, it was essentially one person for Tannehill outside of Derrick Henry. Like, it wasn't two great talents, and that kind of falls into that concern. All right, so here's one that's just kind of by himself, which I think kind of comes into the Drake London conversation. His quarterback situation is worse. He might be looking at name that tune at quarterback to kind of give you a big hint there. There is no DeAndre Hopkins. There might be no Kyler Murray for the entire season. His timeline is mid-season, and we speculated on the show at the time we were talking to Arizona, and there's been reporters who have, I don't know why I enunciated like that, but there's been reporters who have alluded to the fact that, you know, if they are 1-9, why are you going to have Kyler Murray come back? There's been reporters that have gone so far to mention that and then alluded to the fact of maybe they're drafting a quarterback next year and Kyler Murray's out the door via trade or whatever. But all that being said, I know Marquise Brown, Meaney, we saw him do what he did with no DeAndre Hopkins. This was your boy last year. You were super excited, and he started off like gangbusters. But Marquise Brown by himself, quarterback is a mess right now, like a big question mark. Might never see Kyler Murray. Is this top 20, top 30? Same conversation these wide receivers we've had, or does he deserve to even be in this conversation?
I think top 20, no. He definitely has the upside. Like, he's a good wide receiver. You're right. I liked him last year. I liked the fact that he was going to be the clear-cut number one to start the season with no DeAndre Hopkins because of the suspension. I like the fact that he played college football with Kyler. I'm not going to lie about those things. Like, I liked that. But now this is going to be the worst team in football. They're going to be 0-5, 0-6 when Kyler's, quote-unquote, ready to come back. Are they going to bother? Are they already thinking about first overall pick and Caleb Williams next year? So the quarterback play, I think, is going to be really, really bad. I think he does have upside to be a low-end wide receiver too, but he's like in the 30 range for me. I think I'm fine with him if I can get him outside the top 30 as just a volume play. I don't really believe in Rondell Moore. I think he's just like a guy that is going to be on your bench, and maybe he has decent PPR weeks. We've seen him even the past couple of years, like 10 catches for 45 yards. Great. Like, Hollywood has that upside to maybe get you 8 grabs, 110 yards, and maybe a touchdown. But he doesn't deserve to be in this conversation with these other guys that we're talking about just because of this.
Okay, real quick, Lauren.
He's been hurt a couple times in his career.
Before we get to you, I want to ask you, you said 0-5. I'm looking at the schedule. So
I said it lightly. They'd be 0.
No, I know. But I'm saying, like, if you say 0-5, I actually think their winnable games are out of the gate because it's Washington and the New York Giants for the first 2 weeks. And then, this is why I said that. This is why I raised my, because if you told me you're guaranteeing they're starting 0-5, like you said, Jake, this is a guarantee. It's already set in stone. I've seen the future. I don't know after week 5. I say there's a good chance they go 0-9 because I'm more concerned about that. Because, the first 2 weeks are the Commanders and Giants. And then they go Dallas, 49ers, Bengals, Rams, at Rams, Seattle, Baltimore, Cleveland. And then they finally get the Falcons in week 10, which is a winnable. But tell me where they win a game in there. Outside, like, maybe if the Rams don't come back together, outside Washington and the Giants the first 2 weeks, maybe. Like, we're talking playoff teams straight down the line, and contenders, like 0-9 is conceivable.
I mean, they may only win 2 games all year. And that's if Kyler comes
Atlanta,
back.
Houston, Rams again, obviously. Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Chicago, San Francisco, or Philadelphia, Seattle. They might win 2 games.
I expect Budda Baker to be, traded as well. They move on from him. They moved on from Hopkins. They just have so many holes. They got a rookie offensive coordinator. They got a rookie head coach and Jonathan Gannon, who's a defensive-minded coach. They just have so many holes in their squad everywhere. It's just going to be interesting to see how they play this up with Kyler because, reports suggest that it's October, that this guy's going to be ready.
Under 5.5.
Oh, it's an easy smash to the under.
It's not easy.
Like, don't even overthink it. Because
up now.
Again, I'm making this bet.
And I'm making this bet right now.
Make it at Circa Sports. It just, I don't know if they are 0-6. Jake, what's the point of rushing Kyler? They're going to have an internal conversation because this is a whole new regime from when they gave that contract to Kyler that also had him to study X amount of hours in his playbook and not the video games. So there's
actually been some sites that have pushed him down to 4.5. Their odds to go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl are 19,600.
What's their odds to go 0-16? I don't know.
17.
I'm just out.
at
I think he's gonna be too boomer bust. Love volume. Can't do it. Can't do it with Hollywood. I would take some shares of Michael Wilson though. Like I'm willing to. Those are free shares. Somebody will have to catch passes there.
Yes.
In
I like
Arizona.
Michael Wilson. Oh, not doing Rondell
Yeah,
Moore for the
they
fourth
will.
year in a row. Lauren, where are you on Marquise Brown? Because
I'm going nowhere near this team. I'm going absolutely nowhere near this
You
team.
said that before, but
I'm sticking with it. I can't. I mean, when it comes to our world right now, which is redraft fantasy football, nowhere, not even remotely close. Marquise could be someone that I'd like to target in DFS tournaments or something, just for the cost. But no, I can't. I cannot get. All it's going to do is make me angry. I'm like, why did I do this? Like, this was the dumbest decision that I've made. No, I'm staying completely away from the Cardinals. No.
Off the top of your head, Jake, can you think of teams or just players on really brutal teams that just, people didn't want these wide receivers because of that, because the ceiling wasn't so high, but just the volume was just nonstop? Because I could envision a situation. Terry McLaurin is a good one.
But here's the good thing. Like, that's a good reference point because Terry McLaurin never got inside the top 15. He peaked out as wide receiver. I think I want to say is 17 in points per game the 1 year and has been in the 20s outside of that. Like, I think McLaurin's a good case in point for us to look at. This is even before they got Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel was healthy. Terry McLaurin has got everything. That was my argument against Terry McLaurin last year before we went into drafts. You guys remember this. As I said, I'm not drafting Terry McLaurin at his cost because he just 2 straight years had it all. He had it all to himself. Logan Thomas kept getting hurt. There was nobody, and this team was bottom of the barrel in the league and the offense, and he had it all and could never get inside the top 15. I think that's a good example of what happens with Marquise Brown. Completely different styles, but there's a ceiling when you're on a team like this.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Actually, and I'm saying that as in like a bad ceiling, like that's a ceiling holding you down ceiling. Because ceilings usually
it's a hobbit roof.
What's a
what you're saying?
A hobbit roof?
Is that what this is like? You're like Gandalf walking in to Frodo's house. It's real
Could
low.
only get so high.
You gotta hunch over.
I was gonna say that might be better because like a low the ceiling holding you down. Glass ceiling. Like this is that still a thing? Do we still say that? Like breaking through a glass ceiling?
It is.
They're 20 to 1 to go 0-17, by the way.
That's why. No, yeah.
20 to 1?
And which they're 20 to 1 to go 0-17, by the way.
Sucker bet.
And that's
sucker bet.
Yeah, it is. Like I wouldn't bet that.
It's the same like once you get to like being 8-0 and they start throwing out the 17-0 bets.
They're gonna win a game.
Don't do it.
But this goes to show you like because I don't even know if you could really bet on that before in some teams. I think I looked at maybe a team last year. I forget who it was, but that should be like 80 to 1 to go 0-17 is it's pretty tough. Like as bad as this team is, they're going to find a winner too somewhere. Yeah.
The odds never pay off what they should for the likelihood of it happening. Right. Because Mayo mentioned this, and I still remember this to this day. Pat Mayo, our good friend, years and years and years ago told me this. He's like, it's because fans like, it's in their mind. They like want it to happen and be like, oh, it's cool. So they put it out there and you immediately get to people betting. Like they don't bet the real odds. So it's kind of like this, it's almost like a hype meter type of thing. You get all this excitement to be like, I can see it happen. And then, I called it. That type of thing. So what I'm like ties and stuff like that. People betting ties and like, the odds are never actually as good as what they are because people bet them for fun anyway. All right. So let's talk Terry McLaurin. I gave myself that own segue. I had Terry McLaurin on here. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. This is interesting. I just sat here and told you. Terry McLaurin, never top 15 in points per game. Been in the wide receiver 17 to 20. I think the 1 year he was actually down to 30. And that was one of the years he had it all to himself, mostly because he didn't score a lot of touchdowns. But he's basically in that low teens to low 20s range, kind of this entire tier, what we've been talking about. This entire tier encapsulates, I think we broke it down. I mean, for me, this enormous tier for me. I go from wide receiver 16 to wide receiver 33. That's how big this tier is for me.
Wow.
Because I'll give you an example. The bottom of the tier is Mike Williams because he's going to get hurt at some point. But Mike Williams staying healthy for 17 games, being a top 15 wide receiver, wouldn't shock me. At the top of the tier, DJ Moore, being a top 15 wide receiver. We talked about him 2 weeks ago. Finishes at the bottom of this tier because maybe this ball gets spread around more than we think and he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. He's at the bottom. That's why this tier is so huge. So anyway, I bring up McLaurin in this facet, Lauren, is not McLaurin. Let me see what is not because I'm so much like McLaurin deserves in this group. We all agree on that. Is this goes back to what Meaney just said about the Jets from last year. I don't think the gap from McLaurin to Dotson should be as wide as it is. To give you an idea, ADP, Terry McLaurin's hovering around wide receiver 2021. Dotson is wide receiver 39. It's almost 20 wide receivers between them, and I think that's absurd.
You know, it's so funny because when Meaney brought up that example, that was the first team that popped into my head was between the two of those young men. I love Jahan Dotson. I love him. So it is surprising to me that the gap is this wide. I think this is going to be way more of a 1A, 1B situation. I really liked Dotson's downfield contested catches. I liked his big playability. Now, whether or not that can happen this year remains to be seen. We've got the Sam Howell situation, so let's see how he is able to adapt to the NFL, adapt to this team. But it's a lot closer. It should be a lot closer. So in terms of this one, where I'm really high on Calvin Ridley. I love Terry McLaurin. So if I can get him at the right spot in the draft, great. Maybe he falls a little bit, but I'm actually going to be targeting Dotson among these two because I think the value is so much better. And I think that he is going to outperform his ADP as to where I think people have Terry McLaurin. McLaurin just has this way of getting it done every single game, but not super splashy, not super huge high ceilings, weeks and weeks and, in a row or consecutive weeks in a row, but he's just kind of always there. So I feel like he's a little bit more top of mind than Dotson is, but I'm going to target Dotson on this so I can squeeze some value out of it.
Before you go, Meaney, today, Lauren, and this isn't like 65% of my drafts, I'm taking one and 60. No, if you had to pick, it's your only draft. It's your only one with the money on the line.
Okay.
This is the draft. You have to take Calvin Ridley or Terry McLaurin. Calvin Ridley or Terry McLaurin. Who do you take?
Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Meaney, answer in your opinion on Ridley and the gap to Dotson.
I would take Calvin Ridley too, because I think the Jags are. I think that
they're essentially going back to back right now.
Yeah, I think that they. I think that they could. I don't know. Top 5 offense.
How was that? Oh wait, time out. How was that again? No, you have to do the noise too.
You did do caveman with that.
Oh, wait.
Just trying to put a smile on Jake's face. Wait.
Fist bump me. There you go. Yay.
What is with the grunting stuff?
Calvin Ridley for sure, because the offense in Jacksonville is going to be top 5, maybe top 5. They can go toe to toe with anybody in the league. I don't have any
surgery. Made my arm get weak. What the hell? I'm not showing that thing again. I'm gonna start wearing long sleeves. Sorry, I mean to go ahead.
Good. Yeah. Again, like Lawrence offense in Jacksonville, I do believe that they can go toe to toe with anybody. So I don't think it's that close. Terry McLaurin, to your point, Jake, before you teed it up, this guy's done the same thing in each of his 4 years. It's been great. 1,000 yards, 70 some odd catches, 5 or fewer touchdowns in each of the last 3 years. His quarterback is not great. This is the 13th different quarterback he's had since Kirk Cousins has left. Like in 2018? I don't even know. Like that's got to be a record. Like them in Cleveland are teams that have just rotated through quarterbacks over the past couple of years. Now they got Sam Howell there. They didn't want to get involved with Lamar or anybody else. So they're just kind of rolling through. And also to your point, those years that he had the 70 some odd grabs and 1,000 yards, who was the number 2 on this team? There wasn't one. There wasn't a number 2 on this team. Now we have Dotson, who we love on this show. And look at the finish that he had last year. He doesn't seem like a lot, but 9 targets, 5 grabs, 54 and a touchdown. 6 targets, 4 grabs, 105 and a touchdown. 9 targets, 6 grabs, 76 yards and a touchdown. 7 targets, 3 grabs, 40 some odd yards, and he finishes with 72 yards on 3 grabs with Howell in the final game of the season when Dallas actually needed to win that game.
The 105 was the Giants, wasn't it? Because it was that one big play.
The 105 was the Giants. 3 straight games in a row with a touchdown, and they were back-to-back against the Giants. It was 54 to touchdown. Then they played. Then he was hurt, I think, and he played the Giants again where there was a bye.
Hey, he's just running across the field, catching like there goes that. I was like watching a flag football game.
Yeah.
Like, you want to get
him?
He
did have a good game against. Is anyone going to get him? He did have a good game against the Niners. 6 catches, 76 and a touchdown. He's a good wide receiver and one of my favorite breakout candidates. So the question that you asked Lauren as well, between the two, I think you asked that between the two Washington guys, it would be Dotson for me, because clearly the value. But I think now they're starting to build something offensively where it was just Terry. Maybe that will open up some soft coverage for him, but ultimately the top corners are
So
always going to be on Terry.
I will say the one negative you could have is, so like, let's say Dotson, like we're on the show. Let's say Dotson takes the next step. We all believe in Dotson. Dotson's uncoverable essentially in man by like, there's a select few that could, but it's not going to work consistently. So what do you do when you have McLaurin and Dotson? If I'm a defending, why can't I talk about offensive defensive coordinator, the guy who calls the plays? Just like if I'm doing that, like,
we got you.
Yeah, I'm playing some zone against Dotson. Because assuming I had the makeup of my team for it, I'm playing that because you get these small windows because this is where I'm going with it. You want to put that pressure on Sam Howell's experience to have to make those throws to 100%. Basically predict those windows, hit those windows when he sees them, because Dotson's going to be able to find windows in zone. But where man, he's just going to get break free. I'm putting the onus on Sam Howell to actually come through and make those throws. And my concern would be, even though I'm a Sam Howell apologist, that Sam Howell is not ready, and Sam Howell doesn't see that. And that's where this can go wrong for Jahan Dotson and the rest. All that being said, this gap is still absurd. Like, I still think even if Howell has an offseason, even if Washington's in the draft next year looking at Caleb Williams, that they're going to finish a lot closer than the ADP dictates. So
let's be honest about Washington too. They just want to run the football there.
Yeah. Oh, hey, like for Nathan, come on, Lauren, you want to try to do the triple? There you go. Meaney, down to your right. There you go. Your hand is way too close to the camera. That's really big. There you go. We're in the corner, bottom corner. There you go. There you go. Hey, yay!
Man,
there you go.
I needed the grunting with this because I just needed to laugh all day. So Meaney let me down.
Is that what it was?
It was.
Maybe next time.
I'm just gonna grunt every time I see you now.
Lauren, do you want to talk a solo wide receiver or another pair of teammates?
Sorry, I'm trying to harness my best Meaney. I want to talk. Let's talk a solo.
Okay.
Or it's up to you. Whichever one you want me to talk about. It's your show.
No, because you're not Meaney. I'm going to go with your solo. I'm not going to switch it up.
This guy. Wow. I thought he was going teammates for sure.
Yeah. I would talk the Titans again. We're going to come back to the Titans. It's Treylon Burkes. Similar to Drake London. Second year, some flashes. People, if you go back to the show from last year, if you don't know, the brief recap version is I wasn't a big Treylon Burkes fan as a rookie. Love the talent. Thought he needed some more development. Thought year 2, maybe even year 3. And why I say maybe even year 3, Lauren, is because we just talked about it. Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis. It's the Titans offense. The argument for is kind of what we're talking about with all these others, like McLaurin 2 years, 3 years ago, even Drake London at times last year. There's really nobody else. Like, we love Okonkwo at tight end. We love him. But what's behind, like, Westbrook Akina? Like, this offense, it's Treylon Burkes and dudes right now. Like, you can like Kyle Phillips. You can like some of these, but let's be honest about the talent gap. You want to talk about a gap. The talent gap from Burkes to everybody behind him on the Titans is enormous. Can that make Treylon Burkes a top 25 wide receiver this year, Lauren?
No. I think top 25 is way too rich. Do I think that he's going to have some good games? Sure, because there's going to be some soft coverage when it comes to the secondary. I think that he can exploit if Ryan Tannehill can do it, or if it's Will Levis, but that's just another point there too. There's an if at quarterback. He is the only one. And so if they're going to do anything to cover the passing game, they have one job, and that's Treylon Burkes. So there were so many beautiful games from that young man. Then he got hurt, and it was like, no. Oh, man, I just wish their offense was better. He could be explosive. He really could, but not this year. Not on the Titans. Not with the way they have things rolling right now. So I think top 25, way too rich.
I think I'm going to have some shares, though.
Top
definitely. 25 is rich. You're going to have to make the call here. Roughly wide receiver 36, Evans, Jordan Addison, Kadarius Toney, George Pickens, Dotson, which we just touched on. I think my favorite of that, like Addison and Pickens, are guys that I'd rather go to, and I like Dotson. But I feel like if he plays 16 games, no matter who the quarterback is, this guy's got to come top 15 in targets.
He's got to do
average at least 7 or 8 per game. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be great. Volume is king of fantasy, but there's been plenty of wide receivers that we've liked over the years that have gotten tons of targets, but the quarterback play is so bad that they're just not connecting on those targets. But volume, to your point, Jake, there's nobody else on this squad. Last year, the secondary was atrocious in Tennessee. They are playing in a brutal conference. The division is still not really up for grabs. Like Jacksonville should win that division, but there's a good 8 or 9 teams in the AFC where this team is not going to be able to just go, here you go, Derrick Henry, here's 30 carries. Like, it's just not going to be that in Tennessee this year. So top 25, no. Breakout season, big leap forward, 7 targets a game. I think, if you draft him as your 4th or 5th wide receiver, that's not awful. If you can maybe get him as your 4th.
Yeah, don't hate that at all.
You can. So then let me ask you that. This is why I didn't put his ADP out there, because this one I think is very much reflected that this is the consensus opinion about Treylon Burkes. His ADP right now is wide receiver 36. That puts him down. Yeah, we're talking in front of Jordan Addison, but behind Mike Williams, behind Hopkins, Marquise Brown, some of the other ones we talked about, right in lockstep with like Dotson and Brandon Cooks and stuff, guys like that. So does that maybe mean for that reason? I'd be like, I could see myself having some shares of Treylon Burkes like that. It seems like the risk is baked into the cost here.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take Treylon Burkes all day over Marquise Brown. Heck yeah.
I mean, all those guys that you just mentioned, really, because you're not getting a number 1 option on a team in the 7th or 8th round. Like, none of those guys are number 1 options. I mean, Evans is great, but we already went through all that. Addison is what? Best case, number 2. He's never going to be number 1. He's got to compete with Hawkinson. Kadarius Toney, people are just obsessed with him, but let's be honest, it's Travis Kelce and a bunch of different dudes. Pickens, I could be 1, but Deontay's still there.
Well, all these guys. I was going to bring up Pickens. Pickens is 1 spot in front of Burkes, who's like arguably 1/2 with Deontay. Like, you just said it. It could be the 1. He's got Kenny Pickett, by the way. Deontay Johnson's a contested for options. Pat Fryermuth, again, it's so like I'm not.
Guys are all.
This isn't me like always take Treylon Burkes, but at this range, we're talking about a lot of risk and upside with all these guys. And I would have Burkes over Pickens, and I love George Pickens. That comes down to just having to split terrible quarterback play versus having your own terrible quarterback play. Is really
exactly. And being Lauren, the potential, like definitely the number 1. Like Nkonkwo, if he's going to be the number 1, I mean, we all like him too. Outside the top 12, I can't imagine he's the number 1 go-to guy for this team needing to throw the ball a little bit more than they want.
I just don't know about the talent of said ball being thrown is what I mean, targets are one thing and the volume is there, but if they're going in the dirt, that's going to be a problem. Or if they're sailing 8 feet over his head, it's also going to be a problem. So I just don't think that we live in a world where Treylon Burkes can't get it done to some degree, but just not as high as I think it should be with the amount of talent that young man has, with how good he looks on the field, how pretty he looks when he's catching the football, and how he makes those plays look effortless. I just don't think that he is going to be able to live up to that expectation. I would love to put him in the top 20, but I can't. I just simply cannot. And I'd rather have Pickens over Treylon Burkes.
Okay. Well, if you also have a feeling of who to draft on the Steelers, Meaney, and you would love to get the sun heating up your face instead of my blood pressure that's been heating up my face this entire show as the trade-off, you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, let's do this one more time. In case you're just jumping into the show, I see some more viewers with us towards the end here. So the Ultimate Fantasy Football Draft is happening in Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. They want to bring you, your league, to Vegas for the Ultimate Fantasy Football Experience giveaway. Talking a 2-night stay at Circa. Have your draft at Stadium Swim, plus multiple parties for your league around Circa. Head to circalasvegas.com for more information. They're going to pick you up with a limo. You're going to have a 2-hour open bar at Overhag Bar for your league. Both at there's a booth, at Circa Sportsbook with $500 beverage credit. They're really going to take care of you. 2-night stay for the entire league, 6 rooms, 2 king beds each. Yeah, it's all happening. Check out circalasvegas.com and sign up by the end of June.
Yeah. Berkeley wants to get on it, as you can tell.
Like, open bar, limo, 2-night stay, king size beds, parties all around Circa. I mean, you're just listing off these things where I'm like,
$5,000 food and beverage credit for your
Cabana
entire league. Like, yeah, they're gonna take care of you. They're gonna take care of you real nice.
Freaking awesome.
Colton Cabana. All right, before we get out of here, last one. There is a bit of news I just thought of. Fantasy Football Garage just brought it up. I forgot that we're going to talk Steelers. Might as well get out of here on this. We talked Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, wide receivers. Might as well. Steelers Day. Yay. Don't care. But Allen Robinson apparently looking good in the slot.
Yeah.
Meaney's laughing. Doesn't care.
No, it's good. You want to hear that these players look good. You don't want to hear like, oh my goodness, they made this trade. Allen Robinson looks dust again. Like you don't want to hear those negative reports, and they're out there. There's beat reporters that are being straight up honest about guys.
Well, speaking of Steelers, let's go to a previous one. Chase Claypool can't self-motivate, and the Bears.
Oh,
aren't
it's
really
behind
happy
there.
with this
Oh,
stuff.
Allen Robinson's gonna have a better fantasy season than Chase Claypool, no doubt about it.
100% agree.
It's buried behind there, but I'm gonna take my thinnest glove out. I'm gonna take it out of the box. I'm gonna go stand in front of that house and start snapping and see if I can't dust those people.
Yeah. I like it. Hey, I mean, it's a good situation. I don't think Robinson's going to get anywhere near to the 1,000-yard wide receiver he was a few years ago, but it's a good situation. You do want to hear these things. But when I heard that, I did have, I'm not going to lie, had a little bit of a chuckle with the Warren news as well. I believe more and more. Okay.
Well, hopefully at a future, and I'll find some more for the rest of the day at my expense. But we'll be back next Tuesday at Chris Meaney. I pointed the right direction. Make sure you're following him. Stepmom Lauren, that one's easy. At Stepmom Lauren, and code all in 20% off at FTN. Brand new design site just over about a week ago. Looks terrific. And over at the Athletic, discounts, articles, breakout running backs coming this week. Yay! Nice. I don't get my car.